Hey, church, this is Vince Miller. Thank you so much for joining me for some more time right here in God's Word. Today we're going to be in John chapter 21. I'm going to read verses 15 through 17, which is the reinstatement of Peter. It reads, "When they had finished breakfast," so Jesus had made breakfast, "Jesus said to Simon Peter, 'Simon, son of John, do you love me more than these?'" And we'll get to the these in a second about who that might be. He said to him, "Yes, Lord, you know that I love you." He said to him, "Feed my lambs." He said to him a second time, "Simon, son of John, do you love me?" He said to him, "Yes, Lord, you know that I love you." He said to him, "Tend my sheep." He said to him a third time, "Simon, son of John, do you love me?" Peter was grieved, so his heart is breaking. He was grieved because he said to him a third time, "Do you love me?" He said to him, "Lord, you know everything. You know that I love you." Jesus said to him, "Feed my sheep." Now, fellas, there are just a couple of troubling parts about this text. The first is a very pragmatic one. It's the word "these," because it makes you wonder, what is Jesus referring to when he asked Peter, "Do you love me more than these?" Now, it could be a reference to the fish that he's holding in his hand, or to his work of fishing, or it could be a reference to his brothers who are actually sitting around the fire with them. Yet, it still could be a combination of both. But irregardless, Jesus is just merely challenging his self-declared all-in commitment to him above everything else, including his career and his friendships. Now, the second part that actually is troubling about this text is far more personal. It's the grief caused by the threefold interrogation of Jesus. The third ask of that same question in front of his peers incited grief because of the shame of the moment that he experienced in front of his peers and the memory of his threefold denial by that other charcoal fire. But fellas, while this is very troubling, it was necessary. Jesus knew it, and so does every spiritual leader that has ever led someone else. In spiritual leadership, we must sometimes open up old wounds and dig deep into painful issues to promote spiritual healing. This process of probing can sometimes make very public and very painful what we've tried to bury in our past. And occasionally when this happens, we're seeking it. Other times, which is most of the time, we're confronted by this experience. But fellas, this is the crucible of spiritual leadership and spiritual growth. The willingness to confront someone and be confronted by someone else is part of spiritual growth. I mean, as believing men, we have to stop shying away from leadership and the growth experience. I think this is one of the big reasons why men avoid spiritual community with other men. We don't want to submit to the pangs of growth because we're scared of the grief and the shame. And if you're wondering why you're not experiencing spiritual growth in your life, this could be one of the big reasons why. You never put yourself around someone else who will actually tell you what you need to hear the way you need to hear it. So I'm asking you to do that today. Go to some other believer who knows you and ask them to tell you the painful spiritual truth about you that you need to hear. And then listen to them. Don't explain it away. Don't blame somebody else. Don't defend yourself. Just listen. Take it in. And then when they are done and the wound is open and you feel the pangs of it and you feel grieved and maybe a little bit of shame, ask them this question. How do you think I can grow in commitment to Jesus in that area? Just ask them. And then do this. Heed and act on any biblical and godly advice that they give you immediately. This, fellows, is the crucible of spiritual change. And believing men, they invite it and welcome it. And I pray you will too. I love you guys. I pray this has blessed you. If it has, share it with someone else. We'll see you right back here again tomorrow.